Hudson County View, live and uncut. And I'm your host, the guy that lifts barbell plates, eats T-bone steaks, and still has a demeanor that's sweeter than a chocolate cake, John R. Heinis. And we're going to talk the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. We're just 34 days away from those nonpartisan municipal elections in Jersey City and Hoboken. And of course, we got the governor's race at the top of the ticket with U.S. Rep. Mikey Sherrill taking on Jack Ciattarelli. So certainly there's a lot of electoral action happening, but there's also some other things going on too. For example, got to start on a somber note. The New Jersey Attorney General's office is investigating a double fatal crash. North Bergen, actually right on Tunnelly Ave, not far from the studio on 51st and Tunnelly by the light rail. Double fatal crash, 2 young men lost their lives. Of course, very sad and unfortunate situation. This crash occurred while one of the cars was being pursued by a police lieutenant. So yesterday, the Attorney General's office released all those names. So the 2 men who lost their lives are Joseph Aziz. He was 20 of Jersey City, and Brian Rivera, 24 of North Bergen. He was actually a North Bergen police dispatcher who was in training to become a police officer with his local department. So, makes the news that much tougher. But according to the AG's office, according to the preliminary investigation, North Bergen Police Lieutenant Jason Appello, who was in a marked police cruiser, began following a Honda Accord driven by Aziz, and there was a traffic violation at the intersection of 70th Street and Tunnelly, and then the cars collided, and we'll get onto the other details later, but very, again, sad and unfortunate set of circumstances. We're also going to talk a little bit about Leroy Truth, more on the political end of things again, and that's Leonard Filipowski. Of course, he's been tracking State Senator and Union City Mayor Brian Stack for almost 2 years, and he had 2 cases, one in federal court, one in Hudson County Superior Court. The federal case dismissed, the other nearly but not quite. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what that means. And then, of course, another huge story happening right now is what's going on with Hudson Regional Health, specifically Heights University Hospital, formerly Christ Hospital in the Jersey City Heights, right in my neck of the woods. So right now, there's a big fear that that place could possibly close. And this isn't the first time that I've said this, not the first time that you've heard it. But there is a plan to inject a serious amount of cash back into that hospital system. So we're going to talk about that, and of course about some electoral stuff later on. And my guest today, speaking of elections, is Jersey City Ward Council candidate Dan Israel. So all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John R. Heinis. So about that situation in North Bergen, so I was starting to get into it a few minutes ago, and so this was between 50th and 51st Streets on Tunnelly Ave, and Aziz and Rivera was seriously injured in the collision and were later pronounced deceased, and 1 passenger in the Accord and 3 passengers in the Corolla were all taken to the hospital. So the 1 passenger from the Accord was released from the hospital, but the passengers in the Corolla remain receiving treatment, and this is an ongoing investigation conducted by the New Jersey Office of Public Integrity and Accountability. So if you look at this GoFundMe page for Rivera, as of 6:50 last night, they raised $17,410 toward the $45,000 goal. And just a quick excerpt here. Brian was truly a good kid, kind, respectful, and full of life. He had a heart of gold and was loved by so many, whether it was his family, friends, or community. He always brought joy and light to those around him. He was just months away from fulfilling his dream job and beginning to help provide for his family. His future was so bright, and his loss leaves an emptiness that words cannot fully capture. His brother Christopher was also in the car and is currently in critical condition, fighting for his life in the hospital. So, again, a very, very sad situation. We're certainly giving our thoughts, prayers, condolences to the families, and when the next piece of information comes out from the AG's office, certainly I will tell you guys about it in a timely fashion. So, moving on to the more political spectrum. Again, so we're talking about Leonard Filipowski. You probably know him as Leroy Truth. And he had a federal case, and that federal case centered around largely 2 things. So there was a Jersey City church where Governor Phil Murphy came to endorse former Governor Jim McGreevey for Jersey City mayor. That was at the end of January. He ended up being ejected by the Jersey City police. And then there's a second situation that was less than a month later, about 3 weeks later. The New Jersey Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing on a specific bill that a lot of people didn't like about what was going on. I believe that was about election transparency. But whatever the bill was, the point of the story is he was ejected from that too. You know, they said he didn't follow the rules of decorum and was thrown out for using the word corrupt when talking about Stack. You know, certainly not the first time, and I could pretty much guarantee it won't be the last. But nonetheless, he alleged in these incidents his civil rights were violated, and the judge ended up throwing that out. They basically said there is immunity laws and rules in New Jersey that protect government officials and entities, and the burden of proof was not met to see that any malicious acts had been committed, basically. And, you know, here's a good excerpt that I think sums it up. Even if plaintiff had allegedly underlying constitutional violations, which he has not, the individual defendants would be entitled to qualified immunity. The doctrine shields officials unless existing precedent placed the statutory or constitutional question beyond debate. The individual capacity claims are therefore independently dismissed with prejudice on qualified immunity grounds. And this was U.S. District Court Judge Susan Wigington, and she concluded that the dismissals are with prejudice, which means dismissed permanently because amendment cannot cure the legal bars. Now, there's a second case that was filed back in February, and that was when Filipowski filed a 2-count lawsuit against Stack, the Union City Board of Commissioners and Union City Police Department, and that was the wrongful arrest, where basically he was arrested for not standing behind the podium, got a lot of media attention, and now, since then, the Board of Commissioners and Police Department have been dismissed from the suit, so there were 3 defendants, now there's only 1, and they're seeking $8,218 in attorney's fees. And both Mario Blanche, who was Filipowski's attorney, and Filipowski themselves indicated that they were familiar with the decision, and Blanche said he was going to review with his client. Filipowski was a little more adamant, a little more animated, I guess would be a better word, in his response. He said, for example, I was initially very happy to have the representation of Mario Blanche. However, I have lots of questions because there were deadlines missed in the federal lawsuit. There were also deadlines missed in the state lawsuit. The judges seemed very reasonable in giving him extensions for the deadlines. Mario refused to call or text me back for months, at least 2 months. And also of note, with that state lawsuit, there were some criminal charges related to his removal from the commissioner meeting that day. And those charges have actually been dismissed too, actually a few months ago, earlier this year. So, you know, never boring over there in Union City with the fight between Leroy and Mayor Stack. So, you know, back to what I was talking about earlier, also with Heights University Hospital. So, long story short, in case you haven't had a chance to follow along, there was a statement released by HRH CEO Dr. Nizar Kafaya on Friday. They said they're going to cut non-essential services in the next 30 days, and in the event that they don't get a big injection of funding from the state, he implied, he didn't say outright that they were going to close, but obviously people read between the lines. A lot of public officials had a lot to say. We heard from Ward E Councilman James Solomon and Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day. Of course, they're both running for Jersey City mayor. We also heard from Hoboken 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, who by no coincidence is also running for mayor. And they had some opinions on this. O'Day wanted an all levels of government task force. Solomon and Russo was more general, just demanding answers on what happened with these dire straits financially, because remember, HRH took over the 3 CarePoint hospitals in April after a bankruptcy proceeding. They promised that they had the funds to make this work, and here we are 6 months later, doesn't appear to be working. And also, the hospital employees have got layoff notices, and that makes the situation that much more dire for a lot of people. So State Senator McCurgy said in an Instagram reel this week that he and State Senator Brian Stack will introduce a bill to allocate $25 million from the state to the Heights University Hospital. So he said, you know, this would be a recoverable grant, but there needs to be strong clawback protections, quote unquote. And he said they would include labor neutrality provisions, robust transparency, which means the state monitor would remain, and in the event that there's going to be any sort of redevelopment plan, the hospital has to stay open. So we'll probably chat about that more a little later, but we're going to take another break, and when I come back, I'll be sitting down with Jersey City Ward E Council candidate Dan Israel.
Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design studio and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View Live at Uncut. Shout out Heinis. As I mentioned a couple times today, my guest is Jersey City Wardy Council candidate Dan Israel, who used to actually be a contemporary of mine. Dan, good to see you.
Great to see you, John, and great to be here.
All right, excellent. So, so look, obviously, you remember when you announced, you and I had a brief text conversation about, I'm always interested when someone from the journalist field decides to get into politics directly. So, when you made your announcement at the end of June, obviously you did some thinking, some soul searching, and how did you come around to this?
Right. So, and I think you can attest to this. There are so many times where, as reporters, we might be writing a story and, personally wishing for, a different outcome, a better outcome than oftentimes the reality that we're, forced to write. And anyone who knows me personally knows that I'm not much of a complainer, and I felt like the way that everything just was going, whether it be, specifically locally or nationally, I was pushed to the point where I said, I'm going to be the change that I wanted to, write about, or the figure, sort of spearheading the ideas that I wanted to see enter that, public lexicon, especially when it comes to, affordability. I myself was personally faced with, a steep rent increase the last time I re-signed my lease. So it's something that hits home, and I decided to call the city clerk and take out my petitions, and then I realized I didn't want to do it alone, and I had written about Bill really only in a positive connotation. So I reached out to him, and he didn't have anyone for Wardy yet. So we sat down at Miss America Diner, as one does with Bill, and
no surprise there. No.
We worked it out, and I pitched myself, and halfway through it went from what do you want to do to okay, when you meet the team. So and ever since then it's been a whirlwind, and I've been on the other side of this so many times, for doing these types of interviews, right? So it's quite the, culture shock in that respect, but I'm really happy with what we've been able to do in such a short frame of time since the end of June.
Sure, okay. Yeah, look, you were the last one in, right? But plenty of time on the game clock, and it's anybody's race. As far as anyone could tell at this moment, certainly I think a lot of people have made the argument that Elena Little's favored because she has the support of James Solomon. Of course, he's running for mayor too. And, the past couple weeks, just by dumb luck or whatever you want to call it, Alexander Hamilton, Ryan Baylock were here. They made their cases. So how do you see yourself stacking up in the field?
Right. So, being a reporter, specifically covering a lot of zoning and planning and development, and having our platform really rotate about, affordability first, and quantifying and really bringing to life affordability and affordable housing projects in the city to try and translate to lower rents and lower property taxes. I think I really have the idea of how to get that done capably. From, there were so many times where, and I know you can attest to this, we were the only people in the room with the planning and a zoning board, unless there was the odd chance that, some neighbors had heard about it and decided to, rally together. But in my opinion, those are few and far between. So, when it comes to development and really getting that affordability across the finish line, I feel like I know what it takes. Not only that, I mean, Bill, with his, corporation in Elizabeth has built 800, affordable housing units. So I think that we know how to get that done specifically when it comes to, raising that requirement to 20% for all new development, and also, working with developers to make use of local and state incentives like the Aspire program. But also, through my little bit of activism in the wake of the closure of the Hudson Reporter, the online website, had my bylines removed and replaced with fake bylines with AI-generated images, and we took that and I turned that into activism, and I wrote a resolution that was approved by the Jersey City Council and 9 other municipal councils that we covered at the Hudson Reporter. And that also turned into a piece of state legislation, A5164, that would regulate the use of AI in journalism and establish the Artificial Intelligence in Communications Oversight Committee in the General Assembly. So that's another thing that I've written that might become law one day. Granted, there are other challenges to that in the works, but I have that experience working directly with municipal government, and I think that really contrasts against someone who's ran a number of times to the point where I get it. Yeah, she ran a great campaign last time, but to me, it's bordering, becoming a perennial candidate. And I think that as strong as James Solomon has been a Ward E councilman, and he has some big shoes to leave, I think that lately some of his stances or lack of stances have left Ward E voters wanting more downtown. And I think that that's where Bill and I come through with a really strong vision, backed by the experience of me being, a development and investigative reporter, and Bill being able to build that affordable housing, and also his tenure as a county commissioner.
So you say that, you said a lot, but nonetheless, one of the points you made was Solomon, has lacked on some issues recently. What are you referring to there?
Well, so our whole platform is about affordability, and that's affordability at every angle. And I think that, sometimes you see things like the bird glass ordinance, right, where, the intention is good, right? We all are, no one wants to see birds harmed, but at the end of the day, it's going to result in making it more unaffordable for developers to build. And at the end of the day, our platform is designed to every nut and bolt of it to be 100% affordable. We're really not 100% affordable in terms of units, but in terms of every aspect that we're applying to our approach and what we want to bring to City Hall.
Okay, fair enough. I have more, but we're almost at the mark, so let's just take the break now, and we'll talk to you guys in a minute.
Comprehensive healthcare is here, here, and here. RWJ Barnabas Health is healing, enhancing, and investing in Hudson County with its 2 newest locations, Hoboken and Exchange Place. Within walking distance or accessible by mass transit, our locations combine convenience with primary and specialty care, including cardiology, women's health, orthopedics, cancer care, and more. Let's be healthy together.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just 1 pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. Chad Heinis, and I'm still here with Jersey City Ward E Council candidate Dan Israel. So you mentioned a lot about affordability in that first segment, and so look, I asked your opponents what they think about the Albion Hotel and the compromises and the lawsuit. So how do you think that plan should look, if it's viable at all? And then if you could just tell me what your responsible development plan more accurately would look like.
Yeah, sure. So, in my opinion, we can't afford to take, a sort of NIMBY approach, a not in my backyard approach when it comes to building, especially if we're talking about a project that's going to provide us with the affordable housing that we're really all looking to build, and that's really going to, make a dent in the sort of cost of living crisis that we're seeing here. So, I'm never going to be opposed to that as long as it's something that, I feel like we're getting, enough back for giving them, whether it be a financial agreement or anything to really prop that up. But overall, our affordability plan, as it goes, is we all know that Jersey City has a deficit of about 3,700 low to moderate income units for its existing population, and low to moderate income being around less than 50% of the area median income. So real affordability, not $3,000 for a one-bedroom shoebox, right?
Sure.
And so what we want to do to get that done is again, whether it be in redevelopment plans or sitting with developers themselves, but raising the requirement from the existing around 5 to 10% to 20%, because there's a lot of state money out there, whether it be, again, through the Aspire program, but also, rejecting any tax incentives on the municipal level unless they have that 20%, because to me, it's a supply and demand issue, right? And if we focus on building a supply of housing with that truly low to moderate income affordability level, then we're going to be doing the Jersey City families that want to stay here for so long and are possibly being priced out after generations. We're doing them some justice, and we're saying that we want to continue to develop Jersey City, but we want to do it equitably and make sure that it's responsible and for everyone. And we really think the best way to do that is through, again, focusing on building those affordable units, but we also want to prioritize incentivizing keeping existing affordable units affordable,
of course.
Keeping those up, and also utilizing, again, state affordable housing trust fund money and even local affordable housing trust fund funds to build 100%, affordable developments, using the local one for buildings with 40 units and less.
I hear you. Let me just kind of wind it down here. So another topic that I talked with some of your opponents about is the Newark Avenue pedestrian plaza, and some people envision Barrow Street as a playground, like some of the administration. Of course, it didn't pass. But some people have talked about increased police. Some people want more health and human services. Some people want a split of both. I mean, how do you see it?
Sure. So to me, I think that Barrow Street should be a playground. I actually was remiss to find out that was voted down. I missed that amid all of the chaos of everything. But I think that is a very suitable location for a playground, right in front of the theater center and sort of off of the main avenue. But I think that the problem with the pedestrian avenue is sort of two-pronged in the sense that we need more enforcement, whether it be of ensuring that there aren't cyclists or people who are using their e-bikes on the pedestrian avenue and causing a hazard, but also it comes to equipping our police officers with the right tools to deal with the types of things that they're experiencing on the pedestrian avenue, especially when it might come to mentally ill and the homeless, right? We want not necessarily it to lead to arrests, but we want to equip them with whether it be the right mental health training services or partners to de-escalate those situations. And also, again, the homelessness problem is a symptom of a larger problem of a lack of services. So we want to, again, whether it's partnering with St. Lucy's or providing those services at a municipal level, we don't want to build anti-homeless architecture that's going to degrade the quality of the pedestrian avenue for anyone. And we don't certainly want to crack down on it like it's some issue where we need to see more arrests. But I also think the redeployment of the police on the pedestrian avenue is a big topic. So many times we see them, clustered in one area and not really providing any source of not only visual enforcement, but that feeling that, I can sit out on the pedestrian avenue and enjoy outdoor dining without any, disruptions in any manner.
Right.
So,
what do you think they should be doing?
Well, we need to redeploy them so that there's no one just standing in place. There should be no, and that's part of our platform, Team O'Day. There should never be a squad car sitting on a corner with a guy, an officer in it doing nothing. Walking patrols, roving patrols. Yeah, we want walking and roving patrols. I also think the idea of redeploying some bicycle patrols as well. We don't see them too often anymore, and I think that obviously not on the pedestrian avenue if we're telling them not to have cyclists there, but in the vicinity, I think would do a lot to be able to maybe even stop some people from entering there. And again, really just re-emphasizing the need for some public safety, even when it comes down to the traffic element of it in and around the pedestrian avenue.
Okay. And when we're talking, you mentioned the bicyclists, when we're talking street safety and, street calming measures, bike lanes, and also parking, though. I mean, how do you see those two issues getting resolved in any fashion?
Sure. So I think it's very important that we continue to construct our protected bike lane network so that one day, users can realize that vision of getting from point A to B in a bike lane that is protected by a physical permanent barrier, right? But I think if you bring a really good argument that I feel like not a lot of people talk about, or a really good point rather, which is that if we're going to, potentially take away a lot of parking on certain streets, and it is add up to a lot eventually through protected bike lanes, that I think we need to mitigate that in some way. And so, I would be looking as Ward E councilman to mitigate that through potentially the building of one sort of municipal garage, whether that be in partnership with the development of a building that's already going to be constructed, or, on our own, whatever that endeavor may be. I think that as much as we talk about, bike lanes, there are so many people I know personally who would be the best athlete on a bike, and they just simply don't want to, or they can't, or their job, they don't want to show up sweaty, or they have to carry 5. There are people who are not going to ride a bike. They're the elderly, the disabled, those with families, and we need to understand that no matter what, they're going to drive cars, and they're part of our city and part of our infrastructure. And I think that when we build constructed bike lanes, protected bike lanes, we should also look at constructing one, it doesn't have to be large, but one medium sort of parking garage that would be free or low cost to residents, that to mitigate that loss of on-street parking, especially in some of the highly dense residential neighborhoods that we're paving these bike lanes through.
Thank you, Dan. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We're not quite done yet. We'll be right back right after this word from our sponsors.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live and uncut. Chad, our Heinis. So another note on Heights University Hospital. I said we'd probably come back to this. I wasn't sure, but yeah, this is important. So just a couple days ago, I had reached out to the New Jersey Department of Health, and they got a letter sent by their Division of Certificate of Need and Licensing. The executive director, whose name is Michael J. Kennedy, wrote to Dr. Nizer Kafaya, which I said earlier is the HRH CEO, and basically said, you can't close a hospital overnight. The exact words, be advised that HRH cannot simply close a hospital overnight. Doing so would be a blatant abandonment of its responsibility to the community and will constitute a serious licensure violation, exposing HRH to substantial fines and regulatory action. So some of the technical points here, he said that the closure of a hospital is subject to the full review of the Certificate of Need process, and a public hearing needs to be held within 30 days of the application being deemed complete. Also, in terms of layoff notices, that would have to come within 90 days for mass layoffs or closing. So basically, it will be open for the remainder of the year at worst, but as I mentioned earlier, that bill from Mukherjee and Stack could hopefully change that. So let's see what happens next, but a lot of moving parts here, as you guys can see. Now, we said we talk a little election stuff, not as much time as I would have liked, but just so many things happening this week. So let me talk to you about Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day. So he had an interesting proposal if elected mayor on November 4th. He would like to see that City Hall annex on MLK Avenue, he'd like to see that have a mayor's office, and he said he would work there 3 days a week if he's the mayor. So He said the City Hall Annex is a great facility, but what it needs is a mayor who will actually be here 3 days a week, every week, meeting with residents, hosting programs, and making city government more accessible. I live just 7 blocks away, and I'll walk here every day. On my way, I'll be able to talk directly with constituents about the issues they're facing. This is about making sure the people of Jersey City know their mayor is present, accessible, and working alongside them. So definitely an interesting idea. And, based on the comments we're getting on social media, it sounds like a lot of people would like to see that. And a couple, I guess we'll call them programming notes. Like there's been a lot of forums, as you guys know, but on Saturday I moderated the Downtown Coalition of Neighborhood Associations mayoral debate, and there you had O'Day, you had Wardee Councilman James Solomon, you had former Governor Jim McGreevey, and you had Police Officer Christina Freeman, so we have a story up on that. And then on Monday night, the Hoboken Public Library hosted a Hoboken City Council at-large forum that I also moderated, and we had 8 of the 15 candidates, and the other 7 candidates will be present at the library next Tuesday, October 7th at 6:30. So we hope that you'll check out our past coverage. We hope that you'll tune in or attend next Tuesday. So wanted to make sure that that was known. And as far as the electoral stuff, a lot of stuff, again, centering around Heights, University Hospital. We see Bill O'Day has launched a cable TV ad campaign. So that's on top of his already robust social media campaign. So, we're almost there, folks. 34 days out, as I said. One other note before I go, Bayonne Police Chief Robert Geisler had his walkout retirement ceremony last week, and he is poised to be a undersheriff under Hudson County Sheriff Jimmy Davis. Of course, he's currently the Bayonne mayor and the Democratic nominee, and is a shoo-in to win re-election, as there hasn't been to win election, since there hasn't been a Republican sheriff in over a century. So with that, folks, we're going to call it a week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.